It's way too early, but the spring games are past. The draft is done. So, Alex, we have to talk about it. The current top 25 polls. Let's bring it up real quick. Let's see. All righty, here we have it. So we have Georgia at 1, Michigan at 2.
Florida
Is
State.
that right? Florida State at 3, SC at 4, Ohio State at 5, Bama, LSU. Let me get that back. Bama, LSU, Penn State, Clemson, and Texas round out the top 10. Tennessee, Washington, Notre Dame, Utah, and Oregon up to 15. TCU, Oregon State, Kansas State, Tulane, and Texas Tech at 20. And then UNC, Ole Miss, UTSA, Kentucky, and Wisconsin, with all of North Carolina's coaches, round out the top 25. And looking at this list, I mean, let's start right at the top, man. I mean, you got you guys at number 2. You got Georgia at number 1. Those are the favorites to get back to the dance. But what do you think about this? You saw I paused at number 3 with Florida State up there because I know they're hyped. But number 3?
I think it's kind of warranted this year, going into the year at the very least.
Yeah.
You've got Jordan Travis, who's arguably top 5 quarterback in the nation. You've got Jared Verse came out of the draft and decided to stay another year, who's arguably the best edge rusher in college football this year. You've got some of the best at some of the most key positions. And I think this is the team that, I mean, you saw them compete with Clemson and some of these other top dogs late in the season. This is a team that you give them that high ranking early and just let them prove where they belong.
Yep. Absolutely. And I love that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if I'm not mistaken, week 1, they play LSU again. So 3 versus 7 if the rankings stay the same.
Exactly. And like I said, I love this. I love this because this is what we expect from Florida State. Like, they've had a number of down years, even though they had that national championship. What was it, 2009?
2013.
13? Because it was with Jameis. So I love them being in that spot. I love them being as high as they are. It brings back the credibility that I was talking about to the ACC. And hey, long overdue. I love this. So, but let's go back to you guys. You, Georgia, 1, 2 is to be expected. I think this is easy question for you. Is it championship or bust?
Pretty much. I would say this year we're into that category now where you expect to beat Ohio State, you expect to win the Big Ten, you expect to be a playoff team because it wasn't a fluke. We did it last year again. And a lot of the other teams, Ohio State being one of them, lost key players at key positions. CJ Stroud's gone. You still got Marvin Harrison Jr., you still got JT Tuimoloau as a pass rusher. You did lose both offensive tackles and your center. So that going along with your quarterback is a massive loss. I still expect Ohio State to be very, very good in pushing for that playoff. But for Michigan, it's championship or bust at this point. And I've seen people arguing that we should be 1 over Georgia, and not Michigan people, actual the college game day people, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm that person that's in the belief of until somebody knocks Georgia off, they're number 1. Exactly. I was upset when they got pushed from number 1 earlier last year because they hadn't lost.
Right.
I'm a believer in you've got to knock that top dog off to take that spot. So I'm happy with us being number 2.
Absolutely. And it's right. They've been number 1, rightfully so. Back-to-back national champions. You know what I mean? I understand they're bringing in a new quarterback in Carson Beck. And, we do have to see what he does. But you still got the coaches. You still got the pedigree of players. You know what I mean? You're bringing back Milton at running back. A couple guys on defense. So until otherwise they've lost. Well, there it is.
Yeah.
who is not only the top tight end in the country, but I mean, top 5 overall player. I mean, we know how great the guy is. You know what I mean? So this guy, look, they still have it. You know what I mean? So it's rightfully so that they're up there at number 1. SC, Ohio State, much we respect that. Alabama, LSU. I like Penn State here. And Clemson and Texas. I'm good with the top 10. What are you thinking about the top 10?
I love this top 10 the way it is. I do not have a problem with any team where they are. I feel like all these teams warrant their exact spots. I feel like if this is the AP poll week 1, they've done it right. I absolutely feel that way. And I love just looking at the overall top 25. Mm-hmm. If you tell the average college football fan to make your top 25, 10, 15 of these teams probably aren't on there. And I love that because there's some of these teams, Oregon State, Kansas State, Tulane, Texas Tech, UTSA, like the teams that normally don't get that love are getting that love early. And it's warranted again. And, I mean, I think you guys should be higher personally. I think 21 is too low.
Yeah.
I would have you up in that kind of 13 to 16 range personally.
Right. I think with how we ended the season, because I think we were 1-3 or 1-4 towards the end of the year, albeit we had a chance to win against Oregon late in the game. We only lost by 1 in that one, in the bowl game. We always we kind of floated around 16 from 16 to 20 most, once we started losing. So I'm good with this because it's like what you said, we got to prove ourselves. We're not the best team. So let there be a couple guys ahead of us. And this sets it up for my guy, Drake May, to show up and show out. We all know what he's projected as a number 2 quarterback. He's obviously looked at, top 5 potential pick, if not top 10. Like,
I think he should be the number 2 pick personally. That's just me.
There it is. So, I mean, I'm excited about that. But I've said this to you since last year. Once the cameras came when we were 8-1, and once all the attention started coming on him, I'm not saying he didn't crack, but he kind of got figured out in some places, and we played tougher teams. You know what I mean? Yep. Up into the ACC championship where we got exposed. So I need to see him do better in those type of situations. So, hey, this is a year, and I'm ready for him. But look, just like you alluded to, I mean, I'll put us in that category, but you also got UTSA, you got Tulane, Oregon State now with DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback, Washington in the top 15. They're what 12th or 12.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this. Can they sustain it? Can they keep it going?
It's gonna be tough because I mean, you've got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 Pac-12 teams in that top 25. Yeah. Which, first of all, for a conference that everyone thought was dead last year in the water, hats off to them because you could argue 6, 7 teams deserve to be top 25 teams last year with UCLA in there as well. But I mean, they're going to cannibalize each other, and that's the one kind of and the main reason I said there's going to be so many teams competing for playoff spots. I mean, you look at that. There's 4 or 5 teams from the Big Ten. There's 5 or 6 teams from the SEC. There's 5 teams from the Pac-12. Like 3 or 4 from the ACC. You've got a really good mix where you could argue that it's going to be the SEC champ, the Big Ten champ, the ACC champ, and the Pac-12 champ. This might be the first time where we have 4 conference champions duke it out. And I think it would be great for that last year of 4. This is the last year before we jump to 12, right?
Yep. Next year.
So if you could finish off the 4-team playoff with 4 conference champions, I think that'd be a good way to send it off.
Right. And like my guy Alex alluded to, 2024 is when we start the 12-team finals tournament. And hey, that's when the fun starts. That's when all the excitement comes, and that's when you start getting some of these teams that might not have gotten an opportunity because of the conference they play in, or maybe they'd have one loss. You know what I mean? And they didn't get a chance to get into that bowl game. or that championship run. Now they will potentially get an outside chance to get in, get an upset here, get an upset there. It talks about matchups and how we do. And woo, man, oh man.
Well, I mean,
madness in football.
Absolutely, because you look at last year's playoff. Nobody. Well, I mean, there was a couple of us that said Ohio State would give Georgia a run for their money, but a ton of people were expecting Georgia to walk all over them. It was a 1-point game off a missed field goal. And a lot of people, me included, had us kind of walking all over TCU, and we saw how that went too. So you get more teams in there, more games, and more chances for chaos to happen in that playoff. This is going to be so much fun. Not to mention the top teams are going to get an extra home game out of it, which I love that for the playoff game to have that home atmosphere. Yeah, it's so cool. I love that. And, I cannot wait for that to get here. I'm so excited for that.
Oh, yeah. The playoffs will be fun, but no chance it turns into close to March Madness. Too many playoff games to see, there is a large gap. I love. I agree. I don't think it will be March Madness, but just still just the feel of having a team that maybe wouldn't even have got a shot now getting an opportunity to do it. Love the home game option as well.
You look at last year's Alabama team that just missed the playoff, went to the bowl game against another top 10 team in Kansas State and beat the brakes off them.
Right.
That would have been a playoff game, and they would have had a shot to move on. So, and then you don't know what happens there. I think it won't be March Madness to the extent of all the theatrics and the craziness that goes with that. But you're going to get some games that are going to go the way or the opposite way of what people expected. And then you're going to get crazy matchups in your quarterfinals and semifinals. Yeah. So I think I still thought 8 was the sweet spot. Yeah. But 12 is going to make things interesting.
Oh yeah, I like 12. And look, at the end of the day, and look, I'm not taking a shot at you because I did not expect it and I didn't call it. But at the end of the day, you want the TCU to shock the world. Maybe not against you guys, but you want them to shock the world and do that. And that's why I think this will be a great idea.
Well, and obviously you don't want that to happen against your own team. But Michigan, TCU, and not just being a biased Michigan fan, that was one of the most entertaining games of the year.
Exactly.
Exactly. And you're going to get more opportunities for that to happen in these non-conference matchups, especially where a lot of people thought the Big 12 wouldn't hang with either conference. And I mean, obviously they did not hang with Georgia, I mean, for them to go up against Michigan and do that was a special thing for playoff football.
Absolutely. This is Will. North Carolina would not be playing these games. Facts. You know what, Will? Not only will we, after our first victory, okay, we're gonna take a trip all the way to the 12. We're gonna be one of the 12 teams, Will. Mark my words. Let's go. Post a comment, Sean. What's going on, Will? Glad you're here. You know what it is. Wait, South Carolina, North Carolina, game 1.
Yeah.
Be there or be square. All right. So look, that's where it is right now. This is way too early, but it's right after the spring games. That is where we are in the top 25. One more thing, Will, you're in the comments. Can you show me where South Carolina is on here?
Oh, I was waiting for that as soon as you started popping in the comments.
I don't see him. Okay. Well, we'll move up past 21 once we get that dub in the first game of the year.